Welcome to Tuonela Village. Started nearly 20 years ago. Next year will be our 20th anniversary. You're in the center square, so to speak, right now. And we're going to look at a couple of the buildings. Right beside me here is the 8-tree building. Called the 8-tree because right behind you, Warren, there are 8 trees all coming out of one stump. A lot of people think it's because it's built out of 8 trees. That's not the case. And then right next door here, this little building behind the pine tree, which when we built this village, the pine tree was about a foot high, and we've nurtured it. This is the sauna. We can get that up to 200 degrees. Further on down, we have the Grand Chalet, where Annie and I lived for about 3 winters, before we moved up here, before we got really popular. And we were turning people away, which we try not to do, but when you get popular, that happens. And we would come up and spend the weekends there, and we ran the village from there. The next building down is the lodge. That is the building where most day skiers come, and we normally have a pot of soup on for the weekends, and they meet other people. And also I sell ski equipment, and that we do that out of the lodge. That used to be the main meeting place for everybody, but once we built the Tanz house about 8 years ago, that is where we tend to have parties now, and it is a lot more open space than the lodge. The whole village, except the cabin we live in, is frozen when there's nobody here. So we get water from a dam about 800 feet up the mountain, we pipe it down underground, and then we fill these jerry cans, which weigh about 200 pounds each. And we take them to the cabin by putting them on a little sled and dragging them to the cabin. So not only just running a ski village, I am more a hewer of wood and drawer of water. But it's all in the name of the game. Water delivery, madam.
Nobody here yet, but they're coming.
This is known as the 8-tree cabin. We also call it our family cabin because it's ideal for mum and dad and 2 kids. And upstairs above me is a queen-size bed in the loft. And there are 3 full-size adult 6-foot bunks down below here. This cabin is going to be full this weekend. There is a group of 4 coming from Halifax, braving it through the storm to spend the weekend at Tuonela. Yeah, we bring everybody's gear in on what's called a Karmatek, which is Inuit for sled. We have several of these gizmos for getting everybody's gear in. So you don't have to hump it in unless you want to. We bring it in, put it in your cabin, and the cabin's nice and warm, as you've already seen. Water, light, everything's there. And here comes the snow for a wonderful weekend.
Oh, well, like I said, this is it. All you have to do is look around. It's a village in the middle of St. Anne's Bay. And you got a snowstorm happening like this, and no worries of the power going out. There's always lights and entertainment, and it's good. It's all good.
A little bit of history. I grew up in England, but I actually went to school, dental school, in Scotland, in Glasgow. I was the top student of the year, which is really strange because I was terrible at high school. And then I went to university and I pulled up my socks and I graduated top of the class. And one of the opportunities for the top student was a year's contract with the Grenfell Mission in Newfoundland. So, having been a student wandering all over Europe and on a motorbike, on a 2-wheel death machine, I said, wow, Canada, Newfoundland, and I had to start looking at the map. And I said, yeah, I'm going. We left Newfoundland and we got the sailing bug and we sailed halfway around the world, across to England, back to the Caribbean, down across the South Pacific to Tahiti. Did a sharp right, wound up in British Columbia, built another boat there, and I saw an ad for a job in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and said, oh yeah, I think I'd like to go there. So we got in the boat, took us 9 months, and we sailed around to Nova Scotia, sailed into Sydney Harbour, and started work. But anyways, during that time, we had to find somewhere to stay. So we knew we probably wanted to settle here, and eventually after sailing around Nova Scotia, Cape Breton in particular, for several weeks, we found a derelict building on top of a hill. And said, well, I wonder if that's for sale. And it was. So we purchased it along with 200 acres of land, and that was 30 years ago. And now we have 400 acres here and a ski trails of 35 kilometers in this ski Tuonela village with 9 buildings. This kind of wilderness resort 50 years ago used to be very, very, very common. And there were lots of them in Quebec and the wilds of different provinces, but once they invented downhill skiing, you know, those places kind of went away. But now we've brought this place back, and I say it took us many years to get on the map, but we have 35 kilometers of trails which we keep groomed, or we try to keep groomed. We have a magnificent telemark hill, which rises nearly 800 feet from the village, over nearly a 2,000 foot run. So that is pretty magnificent. So why do I want to stay here in the woods all by myself a lot of the time, or by ourselves, my wife and Annie and myself? And I've always been an adventure type, and I'm not a city type. Cities are anathema to me, and we like to try and show the people that comes from the city to get away from it that there is life here in Cape Breton. Cape Breton's a wonderful island. There have been quite a few businesses that have set up in Cape Breton that are successful. And it takes time, it takes planning, and it takes effort. If you're the sort of person that wants to have a 9-to-5 job, then really Cape Breton doesn't have a hell of a lot to offer. We got amazing scenery, some of the best in the world. We've got you know, some amazing people here, but it is going to take time. And if you talk to anybody in Cape Breton that set up a business, they'll tell you that to start with, it's going to be 24 hours a day. I mean, and there's a lot of mom and pop operations just like us, and you've got to stick at it. You can't just go in at 9 and clock off at 5. For the first few years, it was work, 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 work. Now we've established, and again, it takes time with people to understand that you have something that they want to experience. And I can't tell you the number of times that I get an email that says, and I think I got 2 this morning, that says, we've heard so much about skiing Tuonela, we've got to get there one day. Do you have an opening next weekend? Unfortunately, the answer right now is no, but we hope in the future that's going to be more yes. As I said, we may have to expand, but the problem is we expand, we're not big, but we're not small anymore. We get bigger. So that is a problem with a lot of businesses. And I see with a lot of them that don't stay small, they get successful and they expand too fast and they just go bottom up. This has been all our money in this business, no government money at all, except one summer we did get a grant for a student to work here. But yeah, it takes effort, and if you're not prepared to put in the effort, then your business is probably not going to succeed. But what better place in the world? We built a boat, we sailed the world's oceans, we went to dozens of countries, and we decided to settle on Cape Breton. And I have absolutely no regrets. I think I enjoyed building the place, and now I enjoy people who come here and see this place and spend time here and have a great time. And that's my satisfaction. It hasn't swelled my bank account, that's for sure. In living in Cape Breton, you don't need millions of dollars. It's especially if you live out of town. And it's a lifestyle that we chose. Yes, we only live up here 4 months of the year when the white gold is out there. And but then we like water for the rest of the year. So yeah, that's basically why we do it, because it gives other people a lot of satisfaction to come here, and we get the satisfaction out of doing it, even though it is a lot of work sometimes. This is a very magical place, the Hemlock Grove. These trees have been here for nearly 300 years, and I've never seen them like they are like now. The branches are just loaded with snow, and it's, as I said, a magical place. I'd love to spend eternity here, and I'm sort of working on that one. And when people leave Ski Tuonela, this is what we want them to leave with. In a place like this, in a Hemlock Grove, it's so peaceful, and this is nature at its most awesome. Thank you all for coming to Ski Tuonela. Hope to see you again.